Well, it has been a few weeks since I've been bike riding in Florida, and because of the super flat terrain, it's really exposed a lot of flaws that I had in my cycling that just flat out won't work out here anymore. First was my seat height. Now, when I was in Vegas, I would be climbing quite frequently, so I was out of the saddle. It's my favorite way to climb. So the seat height and the forward and aft and all those details was a little more lenient out there because I wasn't in the saddle too long. Now, being out here in Florida, other than accelerating, I'm pretty much in my saddle 99% of the time of my ride. So quickly, I realized I was having some pains. Things weren't fitting right, and it took about a week and a half, but I finally nailed my seat height, tilt, forward and aft, and everything. But that was a pain in the butt, no pun intended. This is such a beautiful trail, and it has multiple boardwalks, but because it's so humid and moist in the mornings, it's super slippery, so I'm not gonna go too fast out here. Next was definitely my gearing. Now, I did cover this a little bit in my previous video, but let me actually stop and show you all what wound up happening because it was this whole ordeal. Not only did I switch back to a 42 tooth front chainring, I had to go back to an 8-speed chain, go back to my Alpha 3000 front and rear derailleur, which I totally am contradicting myself from an older video that I made, but I'll explain why. As you can see with this 42 tooth front chainring, there actually is this bend that occurs where it mounts to the crankset. Now, this is a Sakai chainring, and basically this brings this chainring further out, making the gap a little bit bigger for the chain, meaning the 9-speed chain was actually getting caught in between the chain rings and just skating, and it wouldn't engage on the smaller chain ring. Not only that, I had a 6-speed regularly spaced freewheel coming in the mail, and when I put that on, the 9-speed chain just was too narrow to work correctly with this freewheel. I also had to change the freewheel because of the gearing out here. And then on top of that, because the 8-speed chain is wider, obviously, the front derailleur, the Alpha 5000 front derailleur wasn't gonna work because it's too narrow, so I had to go back to the Alpha 3000 front derailleur because the cage is wider. And then on top of that, I had to go back to the Alpha 3000 rear derailleur because that cage is a little bit wider to allow the 8-speed chain to run smoothly in there. Basically, it was a chain reaction with everything. Also, if you notice, my Michelin Dynamic Classic tires are not on this bike anymore. I wound up getting a flat and completely slicing the tire. Therefore, I had to toss that tire, throw it away, and I had some Continental GP 5000 tires on there. Let me know what you think in the comments, how the all black tire looks as opposed to the gumwall tires on this bike. That's a perfect segue to talk about vintage Suntour. It is a great quality brand, but the issue is it's very finicky. It can be a little touchy, just like I explained earlier. So that really discourages people from using Suntour. They think it's junk. But when you get Suntour working correctly together, it's so smooth. Oh my gosh, this boardwalk is like ice with all this moisture on here. I'm gonna take it super slow. Also, I'm not afraid to admit, but I cannot push a 52 tooth front chainring and a 13 tooth in the back. That is like almost impossible for me at this point. Maybe I can work to it, but it's really hard. So I'm just so used to being able to push that in Vegas. However, like I've said in an older video, you're either going uphill or downhill. There's no flats. Right now here, really exposed the gear ratios that I'm comfortable with. I found these crusty cranks on eBay for like 20 bucks that are 170 millimeters. I was riding 175 millimeter length cranks, but being out here, spinning is way better, at least for myself. So with the 170 millimeter cranks, the ride is a lot better. Well, that was the Brevard Zoo Linear Park Trail, and is it good for bike riding? I don't think so. You gotta go pretty slow, especially if there's moisture on the boardwalks. That's scary. That's actually not very fun to ride. And then on top of that, there's a lot of pedestrians, so I definitely don't want to go fast and be disrespectful. However, I have walked that with my wife, and walking is fantastic. It's only 3 miles long, but I recommend if you're walking out here or visiting the zoo, definitely go for it, check it out. But bike riding, easily skippable. Last thing too is I'm a sweater, and whenever I stop, sweat just drips like crazy and it gets all over the components. So that's a big thing where if I need to check out something or lean over my bike and all this sweat is dripping, eventually it's gonna corrode the bike away because sweat is that acidic. So that's something to be cautious about. Again, in the short term, you can just wipe it off and stuff, but if you don't wipe it off, over a long period of time, it's gonna corrode your bike. That just shows how powerful the human body is. But I have used some rust preventative spray inside the frame, so hopefully that helps just a little bit. But like today, there's a lot of water, a lot of puddles, and pretty much I have to go home and clean my bike. So kind of a pain, but to me, it's worth it, especially since my bike is not complicated at all. Oh, that's yummy. All right, back on this trail, going back home. So bottom line, things are coming to light with my cycling style, technique, my bike fit over the course of a few weeks. I'm sure more will come to light as well throughout the next few months riding out here. But I'll get everything dialed down. I mean, that's what you gotta do. You gotta adapt to make sure that your riding is comfortable. But thank you so much for joining me in this video. Hopefully the things I discussed you're able to take from this video and apply it to your future build or your current build right now if you're having some fit issues, some gearing issues. But once again, thank you so much for subscribing, liking, and commenting on my videos. I always appreciate it, and I truly mean that. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video.